What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and today we're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four. Specifically, the cast of the Fantastic Four. Who are we going to see play Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm? Finally, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's looking like we could see some big names, some not so big names, and some familiar names that could play the Fantastic Four, but not in the way that you think. We also do sort of get an update about the X-Men casting from this Fantastic Four update as well, so of course we're going to be talking about the X-Men today as well. We know that Marvel Studios right now is working as hard as they can to develop this Fantastic Four movie. We know it means a lot to Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios. He has already expressed how excited he is to have Marvel's first family enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Plus, not to mention, he worked on the previous Fantastic Four films as well in the past, so this means a great deal to him, so you know he's going to put everything he has into this movie. But who is he going to get to play the Fantastic Four characters? This is an extremely important decision that is going to affect the future of the MCU for years and years to come, because we know that once the Fantastic Four enter the MCU, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're around for the long run, which we're all very, very excited for. And it looks like a pretty big actor is in the run for the Fantastic Four's Human Torch. Most of you have probably at least seen him if you haven't heard of him, but Austin Butler, who recently played Elvis in the movie Elvis, him and his management team are currently campaigning for him to play the Human Torch. Now, Austin Butler has been in Hollywood and the movie and TV scene for a pretty long time. One of his first acting gigs was actually in Hannah Montana in 2006. He then went on to play a key character in Zoe 101, so he's pretty familiar with Disney. Now, of course, he's done a lot more since 2006, and he might even go on to win an Oscar for his performance in Elvis. Elvis was a huge movie, it was a massive success, and of course he's been in other big movies as well, such as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. And according to a recent report, his agents are putting him up for the role of the Human Torch. Recently, Kevin Feige has said that there is currently no cast currently on board for the Fantastic Four that is going to be written by Matt Shakman. Now, he could be lying. Of course, it's not really a lie. He can't just say what is going on behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. After all, he's the president, and he's very good at keeping spoilers. I'm not sure Kevin Feige has ever really spoiled anything. But make no mistake, the Fantastic Four cast has been narrowed down, and they're pretty close to making a decision, and I'm pretty sure Kevin Feige already knows who he wants. If not, he knows at least a couple of people who would be right for each role. But according to Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic podcast, he stated that Butler's agents were putting him up for the Human Torch as Marvel starts casting for the 2025 Fantastic Four film. He also went on to say that 2 crown jewels are coming up, so all the actors in town want to be a part of these 2 franchises, speaking of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Now, we have a lot more to talk about, but here's the big question that I want to hear from you all about. Will Austin Butler make a good Human Torch / Johnny Storm? For those of you who have seen his acting skills and have possibly seen him outside of Elvis, because Elvis is a completely different character from the Human Torch, what do you think about Austin Butler playing the Human Torch? I'm sure he would do an excellent job, but do you think he fits the part? That is the question. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, we've also kind of got a little bit of a disappointing update recently as far as John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic goes. I know a lot of people really want John Krasinski to play Mr. Fantastic. I am one of those people, especially after seeing him in Multiverse of Madness. He was pretty much perfect, except he didn't end up being that smart because he simply just reached for the Scarlet Witch, which really wasn't the smartest move and resulted in him being turned into string cheese. Hopefully he is smarter in our universe.
No, I'm just on the phone with this stupid salesman. He's so dumb. Probably just gonna keep him on the line forever and not buy anything.
But unfortunately, John Krasinski has revealed that he's only had really one talk with Marvel Studios about playing Mr. Fantastic, and that was for Multiverse of Madness. However, he recently said something very interesting that leads us to believe that he is indeed done with the character. In a recent interview, he said, "There aren't any discussions at all. The only discussion I had was actually in the second to last week of Jack Ryan. Kevin Feige called and said, 'Would you ever fly to LA and play in our sandbox for a day?' I was honored to do it. I flew right from Budapest when we wrapped and went right to the Doctor Strange set. I'm a big fan of all those characters in that world, so to get to play in that sandbox for a day was a real thrill. It was totally insane to be in a room with all those people, and again, to be a part of that narrative is crazy, but yeah, Being turned into spaghetti wasn't my end goal in life as far as how it goes in the Marvel Universe, but you know what? It was fun nonetheless. What's interesting here is that he says the end goal. He says he hasn't had any further conversations with Marvel Studios, and he said that wasn't his end goal to die and be turned into spaghetti. This implies that that was it for him as Mr. Fantastic. And Kevin Feige has even spoken up about this before in the past, and based on what he said, it does sound like this was kind of a fan service and something for fun that they did for Multiverse of Madness, kind of a one-off thing. So Krasinski most likely won't be our main Mr. Fantastic in the MCU, however, he could return in Secret Wars because we know a ton of variants are going to pop up in that movie, and although one of his variants did die, there of course has to be other variants out there that look exactly like John Krasinski. So don't write him off completely just yet. And of course there's always the fact that they sign NDAs, so even if he was cast as Mr. Fantastic, there's no way he could say anything at all. In fact, him and his wife Emily Blunt could be playing Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, and we could have zero idea whatsoever. However, we are about 2 years away almost from the movie, which means the cast is going to be locked down pretty soon so they can start pre-production and then eventually start filming. And here's the other thing, Kevin Feige has been casting for the Fantastic Four and the X-Men for years now. Ever since the Fox-Disney acquisition took place, Kevin Feige has been meeting with actors randomly about possible roles for the X-Men. And Kevin Feige does this all the time, not just for the X-Men, not just for the Fantastic Four, but for characters in general. And sometimes he meets with actors and actresses not for a specific role, but just to talk about them joining the MCU. And sometimes he'll meet with them for years until they finally decide on a role. Or not, sometimes they never actually find a role for an actor to play. Many of you are probably aware of the Jake Gyllenhaal story. They met with Jake for years before he was finally cast as Mysterio, before they finally agreed, hey, this is the perfect role for Jake Gyllenhaal, and he agreed, and that's how we got the role for Mysterio. But we know he's met with other actors, and nothing has ever came of it. So as far as we're concerned right now, the Fantastic Four cast is pretty much almost done, and the X-Men are being looked at right now. Now, the most recent rumored Fantastic Four casting list, at least for Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman are concerned, is Penn Badgley for Mr. Fantastic and Jodie Comer for the Invisible Woman. Most of you know her from the movie Free Guy. She plays the main actress. And I'm still for this casting. I really like it if we're not going to be getting Krasinski and Blunt because they truly are my first choice. But Penn Badgley and Jodie Comer are really good choices and they are younger. So if we're trying to start off with a new young Fantastic Four, it's a pretty good choice. And it looks like that decision is about to be made because we have recently learned from the director of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Peyton Reed, that the Fantastic Four pre-production is well underway. In a recent interview, he has actually stated that he has seen the initial artwork for the Fantastic Four around the Marvel office. And for those of you who are not aware, Peyton Reed has wanted to make a Fantastic Four movie of his own for over 20 years, and he helped get the first Fantastic Four movie from Fox off the ground. So he has been working with the Fantastic Four since 2001, a couple of years before the first film came out. He never got the chance to make his movie, but now he's going on to direct Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is going to be huge. But he is a huge Marvel fan and a huge Fantastic Four fan, and he says that the new Fantastic Four is going to be great. And like I mentioned, he said he has seen the initial artwork. So it's well underway, so the cast is probably going to be locked down pretty soon. So hopefully it's not too much longer until we find out who our actual Fantastic Four cast is going to be. Now, of course, we are going to be getting our main MCU Fantastic Four before we get our X-Men. That's because we are going to see the older original Fox X-Men characters enter our MCU before our new X-Men enter the MCU. They're saving the new X-Men for Phase 7 and beyond. However, it is going to be really cool to see old characters return like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, maybe Halle Berry's Storm, Professor Xavier returning again, hopefully his neck doesn't get snapped this time, I'm tired of watching him die. Maybe even Ian McKellen can return as Magneto. Anything is really possible for this movie, but I am excited to finally see the Fantastic Four and the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And let us know how excited you are for this in the comments down below, and do you think Austin Butler would make a good Fantastic Four's Human Torch? Let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. For live updates, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.